Aloha. So, carrying on from the last space of not being privy to information from the people who win these wars and continue the war-driven society or patriarchal based society. Well, it doesn't even have to be patriarchal, be war-driven, but this one, for example, is heavily out of balance. And the storylines of old are still being played out today everywhere. And they're being played in different versions, so they tell these stories on television or on the radio or in your culture, in your so-called culture. They're really like sub-layer cultures. So like religion is a icing. That's why all these percentages, people talk about percentages of people who are religious on the planet. Really, you're just asking about religion is an infrastructure that gets installed in between. It's kind of like the in between, like the middleman between you and whatever energy people consider can understand as God or source or creation, whatever they've named it, whatever label it is. We're talking about an energy and an unknown, just like the source of the heartbeat for a human example or a heart example. So where does that energy go? Where does it come from? And what is within the soul family? What's all this? What are all these things connected to? And all of these things have a mathematical equation. They are an algorithm. They have a physics. They have a star representation in the sky, the astrological connections. There's energy throughout and within this actual code. So people are codes. Cultures are codes. Groups of people are certain codes. And when you understand those collective codes, you can either use them for the benefit of all, or you can use them for the benefit of a single self-reflective energy force or whatever it is, but from collective to singular, and whatever that intent is. Set the captives free. So yeah, everything gets manipulated, and thought processes, psyche, history, math. Okay, so yeah, so the codes, the math of everything. So there's once you become aware of the existence of things, then you can become aware of its makeup. For example, like its chemical makeup or its scientific makeup, its mathematical, geometric makeup, whatever it is. And on all the degrees of awareness, not just the one degree that you get when you graduate from one of the university systems. It's just that's the system of tunnel vision. So people go into a university to learn one degree, to ask another being to validate them, another being to give them some power, to give them whatever it is. When the information is there, the energy is there, it exists within us, but we channel this energy to an external source. So the education system is no different, or the university system is no different than a religion, just like the scientific field is no different than religion. Big scientists talk about the percentages of people who believe in God and people who don't believe in God, and the scientists who have degrees who believe in God and don't believe in God, and then how one is more important or one is more relevant than the other just because scientists are also backing a certain perspective and all that. It gets like they're just, their egos are as big as the celebrities that are in Hollywood, because they are telling the same Hollywood stories, the Universal Studios stories of the same people in Hollywood. So their egos have to be that big, that information has to be sold. I'm talking about once you get out into the stars and all that stuff, and the secrecy of everything, and the whole why it's secret, and how that relates to war, the conquerors, and the information, and the sharing and withholding of information, and anyway, I just really want to expand on the details, the very intricate details that are within the code and the algorithms that exist within our own expressions, within our DNA. All of this stuff can be read, it can be understood, it can be connected to on every layer, on a whole bunch more layers. That's the main point. It not just you can observe the you can observe so you can observe how the limitation grid line that's out there within schools, the limitation grid structure, the matrix that gets put out there, the lack of everything, the lack of depth. Yeah, the lack of depth that is pumped out within the university, the degree systems, the elementary education systems. It's all very like basic and boring and ridiculously just programming. It's conditioning. It's meant to condition, and condition with fear, dependency, and separation from love and connection with each other. So all the stories get manipulated and hidden away, and other stories get installed in the meantime, and other stories get amplified in the meantime, and that meantime is the only time. That's the main thing that gets taken away, is the now. We lose the moment and get caught up in somebody else's moment, and that somebody else is every other thing that exists that holds up a grid structure that separates us from all that is. And it is as deep as all the stories that are out there, everything that is being said and not being said, from from Eurasia, from whatever grade that was, and There's coming some. I keep mentioning school education system now because there's gonna be some kind of messing around with that very soon because it's so the Google explosion and the smartphone explosion within society. It has sent the I can imagine it sent the whole education system in a like in a big yeah the flow of information nowadays is actually moving a lot faster than the school system can hold up and can keep up to. I would imagine they because back when in 96, 97, yeah, 90, 97, 98, when I was in high school and starting to understand computers and what was all going on during that time frame, we were learning how to use the information field. But now kids are growing up, they've been using this since they were kids. It's a different field, it's a different time, it's a different individual. And I would imagine the school system is basically the same as it was back then. Just discipline, learn, sit down, and learn these stories that we are supposed to make you learn. And don't learn these stories that you're not supposed to be knowing about. And all these other things. Like, it's just a disciplinary, it's like a mild flavored military salsa for your children for 18 or however many years, until you're 18 years old. Yeah, it's just a different layer of concentration camp. It's just like an extended light version concentration camp. And you learn what people say you learn. You don't learn anything else. You learn anything else, you go any further than that, and you might be ending up taking down the system that is trying to get you conditioned to think and act a certain way. And that's the infrastructure of the whole system. The whole education system is to make a power grid, like an illusion of power grid, and that power is information, and then it's backed by artifacts and old storybooks, and activated within your households through religion and your ideas of God, and activated within your own psyche with money that says in God we trust, and then they link their own power grid into that whole space. When they put a face on there, an individual, and like Andrew Jackson on a $20 bill, and they're talking about that man was understood as he was a scalper. He was the one that was taking out the most indigenous people in the Americas. He was out there the big wig when it came to killing people, and yet his face is being exchanged every day energetically, moving that energy around. And that's why this whole I'm glad that came up, because I wanted to comment on the whole putting a woman on a bill, on a dollar bill or any kind of bill. And the whole online boom came from taking Andrew Jackson off of there and putting somebody else, putting a woman on the $20 bill. Then it gets booted down to the $10 bill And this is all energy. This is all a mind. It's a psychological thing. It's like, okay, yeah. Well, who started the whole process in the beginning? And then so that psychologically affects both adults and children to hear one story and then to go to another story, and then the watermark of the old president on there, and then the whole, like, it's a selling. It's a selling of heavy program conditioning, just beating down, and we let it go, and then we take what we think that we can get from people who have no concern for the livelihood of the masses. And yeah, so things are changing now with the awareness and understanding of things, so thankful for that. But until next time, peace, love, and harmony.